we're going to be talking about shared leadership, and the most important relationship, the most important staff-lay relationship in the congregation is generally between the religious educator and the RE committee. That's kind of going to be the focus. Of course, there are other important relationships, but this is one that is often challenging and rewarding all at the same time, and one that we really need to have a good relationship and a good partnership in order to be really successful in our position. Well, I always like to start by lighting a chalice. And I have some opening words from Parker Palmer, and I hope many of you are familiar with his work and specifically his book about teaching. So Parker says, the deep and abiding reality, the reality we do not invent, the reality we really have to cope with, is that we are interconnected beings born in and for community. If that is true, and surely it is, then leadership is everyone's vocation, and it is an evasion to claim that it is not. When we live in a close-knit ecosystem called community, everyone follows and everyone leads. Leadership, I now understand, simply comes with the territory called being human. So welcome, everybody. I am Pat Infanti. I'm the SURGE, which is the Central East Regional Group, Based Development Consultant. So I work in Metro New York, Joseph Priestley District, Ohio Meadville, and St. Lawrence District. And part of my portfolio is in space development, also doing general congregational development and coaching special teams. So we're going to talk a little bit about healthy relationships, what healthy relationship might include, talk just about some good, healthy communication practices, a little bit of just some definitions around roles and responsibilities, because that always seems to be a little bit of a flashpoint. And, you know, when we're talking about sharing, it's always good to have a sense of where I end and where you begin. And then we have a little segment on shared leadership and shared responsibility. And finally, a few words about covenant and using covenant to enhance the relationship. You know, the first slide here is just kind of, you know, where are you now? What does your committee look like? Many congregations have many different kinds of relationships between the religious educator and their lay leadership committee, whatever it might be called, often RE committee. It can be RE council, RE committee. You might have children and youth committee. You might have children's RE committee. So there's lots of different things we call it. So basically, that group that has oversight and works in partnership with the religious educator to provide the Sunday program. So sometimes that relationship is kind of like, you know, we're just buddies. We're really good friends. We're kind of like SpongeBob and Patrick. We keep things pretty informal, and you know, sometimes we're really unclear about who's in charge, and we're really a little bit uncomfortable because, you know, we're friends. So that's one possible way that you can one possible snapshot of what a committee can look like. Another possibility is that, well, we have this great love affair. We love our religious educator. That person can do no wrong. The religious educator loves the RE committee. They do everything. They're so helpful, which is a wonderful place to be. But sometimes, again, power and authority can get fuzzy. And that's also when we have that kind of that real deep commitment to one another. Sometimes it's hard to have difficult conversations. It's hard to really be honest sometimes when you're bothered or when things aren't going the way that you'd like them to go. Another kind of committee relationship might be, you know, we're just all one big happy family. That's the Waltons there on the upper right. And, you know, we all just pitch in. and we all work together to get the work done, which is great. It's wonderful to all be committed to the work in that way, but sometimes it's not clear who's leading and who's following, and so that can create conflict. In the middle on the bottom is your RE committee. The religious educator and the RE committee can be in conflict. There can be just differences of opinion on anything from programming to decision making to who's in charge, to who has the authority to make decisions around curriculum or around a variety of issues. And that makes that's a very challenging situation. Sometimes that situation is created over time where the conflict stems from an incident. Sometimes it's personality driven where, there's just a personality conflict. And sometimes it's part of the system. So we enter into a committee that has an expectation that they're going to be in an adversarial relationship with the religious educator. On the left, perhaps this is the type of relationship that we might hope for, which is that we're in this shared dance. We are, there's a couple doing the tango, and somebody is clearly leading, and somebody is clearly following. But the creativity and the talents and the gifts of both partners are needed in order for the dance to really be to be effective and to be successful. And in the lower right, we have another kind of partnership, which is if you're a Star Trek fan, and if you're not, we'll explain it to you later. But the relationship between Captain Picard, who is the commander, so he has some really clear authority, and he has a lot of power. His relationship with his executive officer, Riker, Commander Riker, and they have a relationship based on deep, deep trust. And one of the famous Star Trek lines is Picard saying to Riker, "Make it so," number one. And so there's a lot of delegation, and there's again, this is a relationship that's based on really deep trust. So, you may or you may not find your existing current kind of relationship in these, little metaphors. If not, I encourage you to kind of reflect on that. What is your metaphor? How might you describe in a visual way your relationship with the committee? So, kind of above all, what we hope for in any relationship, but in our relationship between the religious educator and the committee, is a sense of balance. And that balance extends to power, that there's a sense that we have shared power and we have shared authority, although we'll talk a little bit about what power, authority, what those definitions are, and who really has the authority. But there's a sense of balance between when we talk about how we get the work done. We know that we can trust one another to do the tasks that are assigned, that nobody should be overburdened and nobody should be over-functioning in their position. So this is what we seek. It's not always possible, but this is kind of the hope, the wish.